What is going on, YouTube people? Today, we are diving back into gem rate numbers, but this time a little different. Our pal Gem Rate put together first half of the year data, and there are at least two very intriguing takeaways that I had from this that we're going to dive into and probably touch on a bunch of other stuff. So, as we know, Gem Rate tracks all the pop data from the big four, along with the smaller folks. We're focusing on the big four today. First half of the year, absolutely insane numbers for everyone. Remember, everyone was like, oh, grading is dying. This is going to be over. Wait till PSA clears that backlog. Not so fast, my friends. Everybody, and this is one of the key takeaways, everybody had nice increases year over year, except for Beckett. Womp womp. PSA up 16% first half of this year over the first half of 2023. CGC up 66%. Now, we'll get more of that in a minute. Most of that is on the TCG side of things. SGC up 64%. Beckett down 9%. Now, part of the reason why I believe, anyway, a PSA has a smaller year over year is because I just think they're at or near capacity and kind of have been. They've been flirting with those low, like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, upwards of 1.4, just depending on the month. But that seems to be where they about cap out at. SGC has expanded in regards to how much they can output over the last year or so. So that would give a lot of credence to their increase. And CGC, we don't really know what their cap is because they typically don't seem to be hitting it. Beckett, the sad ones here, down 9% overall. And quite frankly, in a distant fourth. SGC did 900, almost a million cards, just under a million cards, and Beckett sitting at about a third of that, or a little bit more than a third of that. CGC, the surprising one in second place, but almost all of that comes from the TCG side of things. When you break this down by categories, PSA coming in at 4.5 million, sports and miscellaneous. SGC coming in at 830,000. That's a 60% increase year over year. Once again, talking about that expanded capacity. Beckett down 9% at 180K, and CGC down 33%. Quite a big drop for them as they continue to really grab their niche in the sports card side of things. They on the TCG side, they seem to have things pretty well in hand, but sports, people are just not gravitating to them. Breaking down the TCG side, speaking of that, PSA just under 3 million. That's a 20% increase. CGC almost a million at 100% increase. Beckett comes in third here, but still down 9% at 180K. And then SGC at 100K with 100% increase. That was obviously a big focus of theirs this past year. Once again, though, Beckett losing market share across the board in all categories, which isn't surprising. They are one of the most expensive to grade with. Their slabs sell on the secondary market. They are on par with SGC at this point in time, and their turnaround times are the slowest. So there's really not, we've talked about it a million times, the amount of use cases for Beckett are not very large. You're still talking about RPAs, sticker cards. If it's PC and you like the slab, sure, that's one thing. But just from I am grading to resale standpoint, there's just not a lot of use cases for them. The next thing that kind of intrigued me here a little bit and really kind of set up alarm bells was this is the most graded players by sport in the first half of 2024. Wemby, 174,000. That's right, 174,000 cards graded in just 6 months. That puts his total at 208,000. He's really only had cards mainstream for a year, and then you could throw in some Bowman stuff a little bit prior to that. But we aren't even really a full year into his release cycle, and we're at 208,000. all time. For comparison, look down that list. Patrick Mahomes is at 258,000, and he's been in the league since 2017. Now, obviously, the printing presses were a lot different back then, but still, 5 years worth of football cards for Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback active in the NFL, is about to get passed by Wemby, probably within about a month or so. Wemby will have more cards on the pop report in basically just over a year than Patrick Mahomes has his entire career. Wemby is almost half of Ohtani already. Jordan, leader in the clubhouse, 1.4 million. That's obviously going to be the case for probably ever. Griffey, pretty far down there, half of Jordan. LeBron, sneaking up on Griffey a little bit. Then you got Kobe. But you just look at some of these guys that just came out. The other one that was surprising, Brock Purdy was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th all time for the first half of the year. Is wild stuff. Connor Bedard, way up there. That's quite a bit for a hockey player to have that many already. Corbin Carroll, not super surprising there given the rookie season that he had. CJ Stroud coming in at 117,000. That's 126,000 overall. And that one red flagged me a little bit, but the Wemby number is absolutely insane. You have to be so careful buying his stuff. And it really gets back to, you got to figure out what the right cards are. And there's no perfect answer to this. But if you're looking to chase Wemby stuff, be really careful, because the race to the bottom could be absolutely insane. Now, the Silver Prism, that's always going to kind of be a flagship card. And remember, his stuff is a little weird because there is no Spurs auto, at least not anytime soon. The other thing that's crazy about this is we haven't even gotten the Topps releases yet. We know Topps Chrome Basketball is coming really pretty much any time now. They could put the pre-release for that up anytime. I wouldn't be surprised if they're either holding it for the National or maybe for Fanatics Fest in New York. So you're going to have two companies simultaneously producing Wemby cards. So the print runs are going to be even crazier than normal. So really, this is just the tip of the iceberg with his stuff when you factor in Topps is about to ramp up production on him. So the question is like, what cards do you gravitate towards? We talked about the Silver Prism. That's always going to be one of his flagships. The other one that I personally like, and if I was going to go after a Wemby card, the one that I would go after, I think, is that first Bowman with him in the Met 92 on card auto. That has held up pretty well. I think last I looked, PSA 10s do like 5K in that card. There's not a ton of them in comparison to everything else. And I think when all is said and done, that first logo, as cheesy as it is, could matter. But that was my other big takeaway on here, is just how much Wemby stuff is already out there. Just a quick couple other little things I wanted to touch on. This is the most graded set in the first half of 2024. Prism Football, 170,000 already. Prism Basketball, 91,000. Now, we'll see how this ends up filtering out. Football, do remember, it came out, had a couple month head start on that. But man, oh man, just between those two products alone, you are looking at 280,000 cards on the population report. So, you talk about overprinting and is there too much and how much is actually out there, and junk wax this and junk wax that and junk slab this and junk slab that. Boy, oh boy, that is a ton of 2023 product out there. 170,000 in football and 91,000 in basketball. And then you see how big of a drop off it is to the next one down, which is Bowman Draft 2023, which actually released right at the very end of the year. 37,000 so far. That's the Wyatt Langford box and the Tom Brady box, how far that pales in comparison to the two big football and basketball releases. Now we'll see. I'll be curious to see what Topps Chrome looks like come next year. Now last year, you see 2023 down there at the bottom, all time is at 54,000. That product's been out for basically a year now, and it is half of Prism Basketball, and Prism Basketball has been out for a couple of months. So I don't know if that says more about the collector bases of the varying products or the print run sizes of the various products. Either way, that is a boatload of 2023 product out there on the market. Last thing to look at really quick, most graded card by sport. Prism, Wemby, #1 at just under 22,000. Then the CJ Stroud base Donruss of all things at 13,000 with the Prism right behind that. I imagine the Prism will pass the Donruss here pretty quickly. Donruss has been out a little bit longer. And then the crazy one to me, the Victor Monopoly coming in at 12,000 cards graded, and then the Victor Hoops right behind that, and then the Connor Bedard right behind that. So absolutely crazy numbers. Grading is going absolutely bonkers still, unless you're Beckett. And God almighty, is 2023 product printed to the moon. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Catch you on the next one. Peace.